and DSTV channel 278. And Ghana works better when we all play our parts this morning. PLTV license today. Do your part today and dial star 447 star 333 hash. Star 447 star 333 hash. Follow the prompts and pay your TV license this morning. And the time is now to play Round Lottery, the trusted lottery that gives you more chances to win big every single day. It's affordable, transparent, and rewarding. Round Lottery puts you first in every given opportunity. Now, here's the best part you should know all the time. With 3 daily draws, you never get to miss a chance. Start your morning with exciting morning draws. Keep the thrill alive at noon with the Star Midday Games. All right? Yeah, you're still watching the Breakfast Show live on DTV, and we still want you to, stick the Round Lottery because you want you to start a 3 daily draws. You never get to miss a chance. It's from Monday to Sunday. You want to turn your dreams into reality. So don't wait at all. Whether it's building that new home or supporting your family, Round Lottery is the best lottery to stake. Right, so before I get to Felix van der Palen with the gentleman on the headlines this morning, let's see what the various newspapers have for us this morning. Right, the first paper this morning is the Daily Graphic newspaper. The government to distribute improved tomato variety seeds, and Omek SBIC delivers 140% profit growth, asset deposit double in 2025. The story is on page 11. And custom AI rakes in millions a day, revenue projected to increase with full rollout. That's the Deputy Finance Minister, Mr. Thomas Nyanko Ampim, saying that over the series, and other stories in the Daily Graphic newspaper this morning. The Chronicle, gold for reserves probe will be pursued in the future. That's Kojo Opon Nkrumah is saying that over there. And Africa can't afford to miss out on the AI revolution. That's Baumia saying that. And no bird syndrome is a direct result of the destruction of LHIMS. So these are other stories in the Chronicle newspaper. The Daily Guide is also saying 73 billion Ghana cedis sole sourced road contracts under fire. So it's on page 3 of the Daily Guide. And Sunday flood displaced Accra residents. All right. And Africa's AI policy response must be borderless. Baumia is saying that over there. So there's another story. So when you purchase the Daily Guide, you find other news stories in there as well. The National Voice newspaper this morning is also saying big push or big loot. Mahama NDC government face explosive soul sourcing scandal as cost balloon. And Paul Chum Berima joins Ghana's bar, right? And Baumia unveils six point plan to position Africa as AI powerhouse. Says Africa must start building and stop talking. So there's another stories in the National Voice newspaper this morning. The Graphic Sports, right? Maltese just finished the sports news this morning. And Ghana face ultimate German test. And Ahemfo demands tactical reset. Yeah, I think there's another stories when you purchase the Graphic Sport you'll find in there. When you follow on our sports platform too, you find more stories over there as well. The Daily Searchlight newspaper too this morning is saying tensions rise in Nkwanta South. MCE's brother killed, claims emerged of attempt to free military and dead man. That's a devastating one. Yeah. So there's another stories when you purchase most of the newspapers this morning, you find interesting stories making headlines this morning. Felix van der Palen is already seated with the gentleman to delve deeply into the stories making headlines this morning. Stick with us on the headlines with Felix.
Thank you for being there. Good morning to you. I am Kweku van der Pallen. It's your Felix. And as the new week begins, we bring you the top stories making headlines. And President John Dramani Mahama has called on international partners to respect Ghana's cultural values and legal stance on LGBTQ issues. Also on the bill, heavy rains sweeping across the country, leaving parts of Accra flooded and disrupting Palm Sunday activities and all that. We'll get into that conversation as well. And in a major maritime operation, the Ghana Navy intercepted a canoe carrying 37 sacks of suspected Indian hemp near Adan. So just stay on with us because we've got this conversation coming on. I've just been joined by Oscar Provençal. Oscar is an actor and a social commentator. Good morning. Good to see you. OP. You're a happy man because it went well over the weekend as long as your cricket shows concerned.
Spot on, absolutely. In the capacity as the local tournament director, I have every reason to be happy to announce that Ghana, our senior men's team, has qualified for the next stage.
Hooray!
Going towards the World Cup in 2028.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a lot of hard work for this past week. Just want to say a big thank you to ICC, International Cricket Council, Federation, for the trust and that they have reposed in us in Ghana for hosting this tournament. It's not easy to get a World Cup hosting. We hosted the Africa in the 13th Africa Games.
Okay.
And now we've moved to the World Cup. It's giant strides for Ghana. And we're seeking to make Ghana a hub for World Cup tournaments and other tournaments in Ghana with the infrastructure that we have. So yes, I'm absolutely delighted. Congratulations to the team, to the coach, and to the president, and all those, I can't mention all the names, who have worked tirelessly to get us this victory.
Beautiful.
And we've qualified with Tanzania, who came out on top because they had higher points.
Okay.
But we'll go to the next stage, which is the Africa final, regional final.
Good.
And from there, if we go through, we're going straight to the World Cup.
Brighter chances.
Yeah, for the first time, Ghana will be able to have an opportunity to go to the World Cup. So, yes, I'm absolutely delighted.
Great.
Tired, but delighted.
Yes, it's a spade off. And over the weekend, the rains is also something we can't ignore. It was a heavy downpour.
It was funny because, the rains have been threatening to fall. And many a time, our oval is in Achimota in the forest, Achimota School. And many a time you hear rain has fallen all over the place, but it never falls.
Never falls there.
Never falls there. And we need all the water we need for our green grass. But God was good for us. I mean, he delivered. We had perfect weather. And then suddenly yesterday, at the end of the night, we had complete mayhem.
Absolutely.
Complete mayhem. The whole place was just looked like a tornado had swung through there and scattered everything.
Yeah, it was a non-stop.
And unfortunately, we were rained off. We couldn't play the last day of the tournament. But fortunately, we already had the two qualifiers. Ghana was going to play Tanzania, but unfortunately, that didn't happen.
And the point is, when it rains, some people are happy, others also find themselves
there was
in a
something
lot
very
of trouble.
unique about that rainfall. Is that we had canopies in front of the building, about 3 canopies. And the positions in which the canopies fell, everybody said, this has to be juju. This has to be black magic.
That's funny.
You've got a canopy that's flown over an entire building and a tree and come down. and another one that is flown, about maybe 200 meters away. I mean, and you wonder what kind of wind could have
funny but
lifted.
eerie at the same time.
Very, very eerie. So
Yeah.
we had one of our umpires. He says, "Listen," and there were about three of us. They call us old men, but don't mind, I'm not an old man. And he says, "Look, in the African tradition, when things like this happen, you go to the elders
And find out
and find
what's
out
going on, what we've done wrong."
And and that just shows you that African culture. I think it's from Uganda. African culture around. We have a lot of similarities when we deal with our culture. So even for him, in his country, when things like this happen,
They don't take it for granted.
no, they go to the old men.
Anyway.
And give it up to the ancestors.
Anyway, so we hope to probably get into the reigns, the impact, and what it means to Ghana a little later. We'll see about that. Probably we might speak to an expert from the meteorological department. We'll look at it. But
We've been talking about climate change.
Absolutely.
Is that what's happening in Ghana today? Are we, having the weather patterns that we ordinarily have, or have they changed, shifted? I didn't see Hamatan very much this Christmas. It virtually didn't exist. So are we going to say that that's a issue regarding climate change? So
we'll see how it all goes. All right, so let's get into the first issue here. President Mahama urging respect for Ghana's cultural and legal stance on the LGBTQ matter. And Oscar, somebody will ask, is it a fair call by the president when it comes to what others want to recognize, what they want to defend and probably believe in? Is it a fair call to say, hey, you guys believe in the stance? Because there are others who also want to go with it or buy it.
No, for me, I think the president has made the right call. As a nation, we're a sovereign nation. Only we should determine, which direction our nation should go. Yes, we're living in a global village, but I don't think that there should be a carrot and a stick over our head regarding in which direction we go. I mean, and if you look at it from a religious point of view, a cultural point of view, as a nation and as Africans, I mean, it's natural, it's normal for us to think on those lines. So yes, I mean, I get very angry with the West. I mean, they brought us the Bible. I have absolutely nothing against anybody who is LGBTQ, so long as you don't come my way and come and start hitting me up. That one, you'll have trouble. But as human beings, I think they're good human beings. I mean, but the thing is, if it's a human rights issue, that I disagree. It's a matter of choice. And
you disagree with people having their right and insisting?
Well, I don't know if it's a right. I think it's a choice. I don't think it's a human right, and that's my personal view. But I don't have anything against anyone who is akin or aligned to that. But when you're looking at it from the point of view that from the Western perspective, and governments are going to, Ghana is going to be fined, or not even fined, but have governments not giving us what
the attention
and so forth, and threatening us and all of that. I disagree. I mean, they have no right to do so. And even they who brought the Bible, in there it says what? It's an abomination, and that the world has shifted, and those same people are saying it's acceptable. It's acceptable now because they're marrying, same-sex couples and all of this in the name of freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of this, freedom of that. And where do we take it next to? Freedom of what? So I think for us as a society, and for us to stay strong and stay united, there's the best way to divide us is this way. Is to divide and weaken a society, is to, introduce those elements that obviously are going to cause major problems. What I disagree with regarding the bill is the criminalization of certain things regarding, if you're going to be an advocate for it, and then that's a criminal offense, or if somebody reports you, or has a perception that you criminalize that. There are certain elements that I don't think in terms of the criminalization of it.
If you're against it, why are you worried about criminalization?
Yeah, but criminalization is one thing, Nobody stops you from doing whatever you're doing in your bedroom. Whether you are somersaulting with elephants and horses in your bedroom, that one, we don't see it. So, but where it affects society, where it affects our children, especially the children, especially when it gets into curriculums, and it's shaping them. And you have to really think about it. Why would anybody want to move in this direction? And for me, I look at it as a birth control, very strange birth control policy that is being pushed out there. Same-sex people can't have children. And we've been told that the population is too much in the world.
You think,
so how do we?
You think that's the motivation?
That for me, I see that as one aspect of it. Apart from people wanting to do whatever they want to do and have the right to do so, or whatever. I see it more in those let me call it sinister motives. Because of course, nobody can say who's going to be a good parent or a bad parent, even if you adopt a child. But we all know that the environment that you put a child in counts a lot. That child is going to be confused. Even if they are confused over there who introduced it, and now you are he, she, whatever.
You wake up morning, I want to be a girl.
You really confuse the child. And I think for the purposes, for safeguarding the children and the future and the generations to come, that yes, we should address this issue. However, I don't think we should criminalize it to the levels that are there. But we all have to be concerned. I'm concerned. I don't know if my son comes home and says, "Daddy, meet my boyfriend, I'm coming to marry him," what I'll tell him. I say, "Master, what is wrong with you?"
Do you know where we are from?
But that's me. But it doesn't mean I hate. There's anything to do with hate with anybody who has any orientation. So
it's a choice.
It's a choice. But how to exhibit your choice in public, or have it within the curriculums in school, or I'm totally against the fact that anybody would be anybody would be refused a job because of their orientation, or
It has happened.
Yes, of course.
In many cases.
Of course.
Somebody goes to an interview, with some organization.
Even when you go to an interview with Rasta hair cry in Ghana, you have a problem with this, because there's a cultural background that we come from. And it's going to take a long time for us to change. It's a generational thing. Let's face it, homosexuality was illegal in the UK about, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, it was illegal. You get arrested. But today, they are championing LGBTQ. So societies will change. Will change. And who knows what the next generation of Ghanaians will do. And
So you would put cultural consensus over global human rights demands?
Oh, obviously, yes. Absolutely. Who are we as a people? It's our cultural identity, and this desire to completely westernize and fragmentize our society. Go and find out what is happening to their societies. Maybe somebody should do a research and do an impact analysis of what has happened to their societies and how dysfunctional their societies are today. What are the levels of suicide and all kinds of things that are going on there so we just have to take our time. We have to take our time. And I don't see it happening today or tomorrow that Ghana or Africa will embrace in its entirety the LGBTQ cause. You know, so don't be surprised whatsoever. Why is it that the Catholic priests and bishops have refused same-sex? African bishops have refused the introduction of same-sex marriage and so forth. They refused it, but they come from the Catholic Church. They take command from the Pope, but the Africans are saying no way. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So we have to somehow protect and preserve our culture, our values, and protect our children above all things.
All right. I've just been joined by Tanko Musa Zakaria, legal practitioner.
Good morning, sir.
And lecturer. Yeah. Good to see you.
You are a Lone Ranger.
In fact, I felt so sad and alone.
But at least we're getting on. We're getting on.
Sorry to put you in that situation.
Oh no, I'll go Felix. I can.
He enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it. He likes that. Maybe we should be giving him that opportunity.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah. Good to see you too. Yes. Yeah. We talked about the rains and. How
showers of blessings or what?
How heavy it was and all of that.
No, I had some. I called a few friends and they said their neighbors' roofs were blown off.
That's sad.
Yeah. Sad. It was that bad.
That's the irony. We're all complaining that the scorching sun, the weather, and all those things. So we're calling for the rains.
And it came.
And we call for the rains for productive purposes. Harvest. The farmers. But when it comes, it wreaks havoc. So we don't know whether. So it's a mix. It's a blessing and a curse. But honestly, I think it's only a curse because of a man-made sort of things. I mean,
the management of it.
The management. I mean, some of of course, if you go all over the world, there are situations where, industrialization and urbanization leads to some of these things. You can't avoid them. Even in the advanced countries, when it rains continuously, they do get some level of flooding. But they anticipate these things and, disaster management and all those things are handled properly. But ours are really self-inflicted in a way because we continue to build on, pathways, road, places we are not supposed to build, and that adds up to all sorts of situations. I mean, when I was growing up, areas that you never, ever saw being flooded are not being flooded because people have built on places they are not supposed to build. And then the whole concept of decentralizing some of these things so that the district assemblies would take charge of this. They go and write stop work, and then the next thing, the work continues. And all so I think it's about enforcement, so that we can mitigate some of these things that are happening. But it's going to get worse if we don't do anything about it, because we are becoming more urbanized, and the infrastructure, the urge to put up structures is there. People are always now trying to put a place for themselves to get a place to lay their head. So I think we need to take the bull by the horn.
We have to.
And when we have leaders emerging who seem to be wanting to crack the whip and take some of this charge, we need to support them instead of bringing them down and thinking that they're becoming popular. And when they become popular, that would make them attractive to the electorates and all these things. And then we kill them.
Okay. So we started a conversation. We moved ahead and then started a conversation on the LGBTQ and what the president is calling for. Just when, you want.
And what was Oscar's take?
Yeah. So, I mean,
the devil's advocate.
No, he has put cultural consensus over global human rights demand, for instance. And I was going to ask you where you place
the president was only drawing attention to the fact that we all have our culture. And laws do try as much as possible to reflect people's culture, because the law is not for aliens. The law is meant for people. It's our way of life. It's supposed to guide us in terms of how we go about engaging in our day-to-day activities, and that has to reflect the different shades of culture and all those things. But of course, because we have become a global village now, what affects you affects others. There are some internationalization, there are some standardization, but that cannot override the, if you like, the domestic or cultural imperatives of the people. So what the president was saying is that, yes, LGBTQ, but you need to also understand that whatever we do would have to reflect the aspirations, the wishes, the cultural implications of our people. Now, democracy itself has got its own ups and downs. And sometimes we are quick at trying to pop champagne and dance adowa in celebration of the fact that democracy is purer than pure. It is not. It is not. But of course, it is better than maybe some of the other forms of government we have engaged with. Now, when you willingly subject yourself to democratic tenets, there are certain things you have to make concessions on and give way. But it all depends on what you can give way and what you cannot give way. So when you look at this issue about LGBTQ, when you look at Ghana, almost all the major religions, Islam, Christianity, and African tradition, they are in unison in terms of the way they look at it. But who are the people who we are talking about? Those who are professing to be LGBTQ adherents. They are all maybe our brothers, sisters, friends, uncles, daughters. So they are still part and parcel of the community called Ghana, society called Ghana. So how do you deal with situation where some part of your own have a particular way of life,
So
quote and unquote?
this makes the approach difficult. So I was asking Oscar earlier on, the fairness in the president trying to say, hey, you got to respect this, like calling all other stakeholders.
But he contextualized it. He said, you have to respect that. But whatever we would do would be done within the context of what? Rules and regulations and law. So, there was a research that was conducted some time ago, and I happened to be engaged in one way or the other. And that research was alarming. It was alarming because it demonstrated that people who are providing public services, like medical doctors, like police officers and all those things, when they were asked whether or not if they know somebody is LGBTQ, they would provide that service. And the answer was no. Do you understand? So this is where it can be a little bit of concern, because democratically everybody is supposed to be treated fairly and equally. You don't have to discriminate against people because of who they are and all those things. So these are some of the nuances that we need to look at and all those things where, yes, we have our own cultural underpinnings, but does that give you the right to subject somebody who does not do things the way you do to inhuman treatment, attack, physical attacks, and all those things? Those are the things that we need to find the fine balance and all those things. And sometimes the West themselves make it difficult for even the liberals in Africa to want to side with them, because there is some level of hypocrisy as they argue that when it doesn't suit you, you take a very, very strict stand on it, and I have heard some of my Muslim colleagues who say, and African colleagues, because, in Africa, traditional marriage is potentially polygamous, right? You can manage as you can comfortably, you can marry as you can comfortably manage, right? In Islam, it restricts you to 4.
See the word you use.
But in the Western world, they don't accept that, do they? They don't accept that.
Well, in France, they do.
Yeah, right?
It depends on
You have the
the
white women, you have the...
But not official.
It's virtually official.
Not official. So that's where people are saying that, well, when it comes to certain aspects, you push aside the issue of fairness, just reasonableness, and being liberal, right? And say this is not in line with our what? With our Western philosophy or culture. So why then do you want to also impose yours on others? But this is where there is that challenge. But for me, I think that rights in a democracy doesn't have to discriminate. We need to respect people's rights and all those things. But of course, that has to be done within the context of our law, because we have all agreed as a country that we want to be governed by a constitution, which is the highest law of the country. And after the constitution, there are other subordinate laws as well. So long as those laws are not conflicting with the constitution, we need to respect them. So if as a people we all come together and say this is what we like, this is what we don't like, I don't think anybody has the right to interfere with our sovereign decision that we have made. But whatever decision we make, of course, would have to be looked at within the context of the fact that just because you are in the majority doesn't mean that those in the minority have to be treated in an inhumane and undignified manner. And I think that is what we need to find.
That makes sense.
The right
but let's look at the bill and the process. You know, some people have said, yes, indeed, it's been reintroduced as a private member's bill. And some are saying, why? Because even the president himself wished that it would be a government-sponsored bill. So in reintroducing it as a private member's bill, is that a way to buy time? And which one will foster it or make it speed up the process?
Well, the parliamentary process sometimes can be tedious, unnecessarily tedious sometimes, because they have to follow their, rules and regulations and all those things. So sometimes the question would be whether when the government reintroduces it as a government bill, would it speed things up? Or if you reintroduce it as a private member's bill, remember a lot of work has already been done, and it got to the stage where the president was supposed to ascend and he didn't. So maybe at that stage, the work that needs to be done may not be that enormous. You could just tweak one or two things, incorporate the concerns that civil society organizations and all those people have, and then make it a bit more acceptable. Because there were some provisions there that indirectly actually criminalizes speech and freedom of expression in terms of even reporting and all those things. So there were concerns about those things. So for me, I think whichever way you look at it, it's all about trying to make sure that the right, if you like, drafting is ensured, and then the content is a content that you cannot get. It will not be purer than pure, but it has to be as much as possible reflect the wishes and aspirations of both the majority, and taking into cognizance the fact that in a democracy, just because you are in the majority doesn't mean that you trample unreasonably
that point is well made. That point has been well made. Oscar, so should we be concerned about political interference as it goes through the due process, or there's nothing to worry about?
No, I don't think we should, whether it's a private member's bill or it's a government bill. Ultimately, it's the president who will sign, assent and sign, So, I think that where we are, and this is where I think that there's going to be a lot of critical thinking, with the threat of sanctions or, lack of support for Ghana financially and all that. As a nation, the president will, as a leader of the nation, he has a difficult decision to make. We're not out of the woods yet with our economy.
If you were the president,
hey,
would
Papa,
you...
Ade, why are you bringing this one?
Would you... with all the promises, the assurances, the commitment, and you're saying we're going to withdraw all these, and it probably would make your work easier in running the country, would you still say no?
Well, I think that you have to balance the two, and you have to be prepared for the repercussions. And you look at it, and most likely I would hedge, if you ask me. We're not strong enough yet as an economy to lose the kind of support we may lose. But then again, I would say that it's a fine balance. And I believe that the president has wise counsel.
What is a fine balance? I want to understand.
Yeah, there's a fine balance, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to think what's the impact going to be on your economy and on your people immediately. You may not want to do. You still have three more years. That's what I'm talking about within the context.
So you give in at a point?
To hedge to the point where, now you're confident enough that your economy can withstand any shock that comes from outside, and you feel confident enough to do it. Or you say to your people, bring your people along and say, hey, people, when this happens, this is the possibility. And if our economy takes a hit, we all need to be behind. It doesn't turn into a political football, become a very partisan thing. And so I think that's another thing that you have to do. You still have to educate the people.
But convictions may be questioned.
they're questioned every day. I mean, even our sovereignty is questioned every day. We keep on saying we're a sovereign nation, sovereign nation, sovereign nation. Well, where's our sovereignty? Show me the sovereignty. I mean, I remember we spoke about the presidents who wanted to go and talk to Gaddafi, who wanted to go and talk to Gaddafi before the invasion.
Yeah.
And they were told that they cannot guarantee their safety. They could have been shot down in their own continent. If that doesn't ring a bell to you, I don't know what will ring a bell to you regarding your sovereignty.
So you think you need to
sovereignty,
count the cost and all that?
yes, so sovereignty. I mean, sovereignty. What isn't Israel doing? What isn't Iran doing? And the U.S. doing? Well, sovereignty these days. Let's think about our survival as a people.
If you believe in something, you're going to pay the price and go through the mill. That's what I believe in. So damn the concept.
Well, you see, the politician is a different, different animal. He thinks of his political survival, and he'll balance and he'll weigh the two. He'll see. I mean, if that's going to affect his survival for the future, he's not going to embark on that journey. Okay. So maybe we need a leadership who will say that, hey, and I think the president is in the right position to be able to take such decisions, take the bull by the horn, make the really hard decisions that Ghanaians require for us to have a transformative change within our country and society and our economy.
I have to come through now with this part of the conversation, which has got to do with the rains, what happened over the weekend, and also, a building collapsed at Newtown. We have someone on the line to take his thoughts. Engineer Richard Ameko is a hydrological engineer, and he's on the phone right now. Good morning. Good morning, Engineer Richard Ameko.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. It's the GTV Breakfast Show, headlines, and we're looking at the rains over the weekend, specifically the wee hours of Sunday. A forecast was given. What do you make of the accuracy?
I think your line is difficult to hear what you just said.
So can you hear me now?
If I heard you right, I think you're referring to the downpour last night.
Yeah, the downpour and also the forecast that was given regarding, the accuracy of it.
Yes. I mean, from GMET, we saw the forecast that there'll be a heavy downpour on Sunday. I think Saturday dawn to Sunday morning. Yeah. Yes. This is what I've been saying every time, that as we Ghanaians, we need to I think they need to bring it to the local level. So then everybody will be able to listen and understand what the forecast is about. So then those living in the low-lying areas, flat hot spots, will evacuate before the rains come. But mostly it's not happening, so I don't know if you could ask the number of people who listen to this weather forecast. It is something minimal. I mean, majority of the people do not take it serious. That is our challenge. So I think it's about time we need to bring it to the local level.
Okay. So local level, you're talking in terms of the communication, the language? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're talking in terms of the communication, language.
Am I still on the call?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Because it's barely to hear you. It's very barely to hear. I mean,
Wow. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
No.
But you said no. Indication.
Hello?
Yes. Anyway, but let's also look at the intensity of the rain, if you can hear me. I mean, it was quite intense, and
please, can you call me back, because it's difficult hearing, please.
Wow. All right, we'll do that. So basically that's it. So unfortunately, he's not hearing us clearly. But, I was asking him the intensity of the rain.
He makes a very remarkable point about the communicating, weather forecast. And it has a history where, these things are seen more of an elitist thing, weather forecast. As soon as it gets to that stage where they're going to give weather forecast, people will be, if you like, switching to another channel and all this, because they think it's remote.
Yeah, you're speaking about their heads.
They don't see the connection. And I think this is where we may probably, and I agree with him, where we may have to rather now try to get people to understand that no matter how remote it is, there is an indirect correlation between what happens and it could affect transportation, it could affect everything, so that we can decentralize, if you like, the communication of it, so that people would appreciate that. Because sometimes people don't even take it serious, and they think that, it will never happen. And it's because in the past, maybe the accuracy had not been there. But I think with new...
Now you are talking to the crux of the
matter. Yeah, the accuracy had not been there. But with the acquisition of new
so in other words, you can't blame citizens for not...
of course. But you can't blame them. But you see, at the end of the day, you need to remember that you start from somewhere and you build up. And we can see now that they are improving tremendously, and they do get the accuracy now. So I think it's something we need to take a very serious notice of, so that people would be mindful. Because sometimes even driving, if you know that they said it's going to rain within a certain period of time, and you're going to be caught up within that period, there are certain routes that you have to avoid. Because you know that particular route is a, if you like, flood-prone area. So if you know that they said between this period to this period is going to rain, and you're going to caught up in that rain, and you know that is your route, you may have to start thinking about alternative routes, so that you don't go and get caught up in those things. So I think it's something that we may have to start looking at again.
Okay.
And enhance
I wish Prince was here to take this up, but I'll let you take it on his behalf in terms of how this is affecting business and daily lives, and what measures probably we can suggest.
This is force majeure. I mean, I just wanted to say, now who caused up? If I'm, skeptical about the weather forecast, I didn't create the situation. And let's face it, Ghanaians, you say it will rain today and it doesn't rain. And it's happened for a long period of time. So let's not blame Ghanaians for being skeptical. Yes, technology has come, but it will take time for Ghanaians to really take seriously what these meteorologists...
Ye men of little faith.
Oh, no, but not necessarily. But that's the gospel truth.
That's what they've gotten used to.
That's the
temptation
truth.
of you ignoring...
So you have
but that is why sometimes, they can predict as much as they could, but some of those things are out of their hand. That's why I was just alluding to ye men of little faith. That's why sometimes when we say some of these things, we say, Inshallah, if God permits.
Anyway, so I was asking about the effect of this on lives. It's so important, and what measures, suggestions we can give out there.
I wish you had asked this question to the engineer.
But he was not hearing.
See, the engineers are the ones in control of all of this. I mean, flooding, go and look at the papers from Nkrumah's time. Go and look at graphics from Nkrumah's time. Flooding has been hitting Accra not today. Here in Ghana, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes of rain, some places in trouble. So we should be asking the engineers, what's gone wrong? You are the guys who know the topography of this country. You are the guys who are building all the gutters and so forth. Obviously, we must ask our duty bearers to what are they doing about it, because they have the overall responsibility about it. But if we're going to have perennial problems with rain and flooding, that is, decades long, you ask yourself, so what's happening? Yes, people are building on waterways and all kinds of things. The whole system is messed up. What are the assemblies doing? Why are they allowing people to build on waterways and so forth?
So this is exposing our flood drainage,
there's a whole
flooding issues.
There's a whole myriad of problems.
Some of them are non-existent. And even now, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but sometimes the common sense will tell you, even look at the drainages that we are, creating now. And you ask yourself, because we've all traveled to other jurisdictions, and you look at the drainage, we are doing open drainage in this day and age, and we are complaining that people are throwing litter all over the place. And we know very well that our culture, when it comes to these things, is something we need to be worried about. And still we are creating open drainage and allowing people to be throwing these things in there. In those days when we were growing up, Oscar would know, you have these tankers, sama. They instill a lot of discipline in people. Those things, exactly. I remember when I did my national service, I was going around with one of them around the Amasaman. I was posted to Amasaman at that time. That time it was only Amasaman district. We didn't have all this wager, but and people were terrified. When you hear that they are coming, your parents will be running helter-skelter, and that was the discipline. So you don't see. But now we've withdrawn all those things.
So what happened?
And then we are creating the environment for people to be doing the very things that we don't have the willpower to enforce.
So what do you think happened along the line?
I think, obviously, like I said, when you are industrializing and all those things, you're going to have an expansion of the cities and all those things, and people are coming to Accra, the brain drain to Accra and all those. So it's expanding, it's bringing pressure in here. But whilst the pressure is coming, and as Oscar alluded, even during Nkrumah's time, we were having flooding, right? With a limited number of pressure on the Accra. But now we have a lot of pressure on Accra. We are not improving on the infrastructure. The capacity is not there. We are not doing anything that would make people to stay in those places and not drift into the capital cities and all those things.
You are a legal practitioner. When it comes to legal consequences, for officials who ignore drainage maintenance, for instance, or citizens who do some of these things.
The laws are there. That's what I'm saying. It's about the enforcement, right from the top to the down. He who does that, when you create that the situation, that law deals with you. You are creating a nuisance, and there are laws that have to do with nuisance and all those things. And then the person who has a responsibility to make sure something doesn't happen, and it happens, the law is there to deal with such a person. But I'm saying that is the enforcement and the political interference. Because, for instance, we know we have been in this country where both political parties, the NDC, NPP, have made an attempt to deal with situations that they consider not to be conducive for the whole community. And as soon as they step in, we emotionally blackmail them. People will start rushing to the chiefs, opinion leaders, and all those things, and they will come in, and all those things.
Just
so
a
these
second.
are some of the challenges.
Oscar, I'll come to you later after this live report from Newtown where the building collapsed. And then you tell us about what probably you think businessmen should do, because this is a situation. What are some of the strategies? What they should put in place? Emergency plans just in case this happens. But let's move over to Newtown and join. Jay is on site. Hello, Jay is there to give us an update.
Also, this microphone is good morning, everyone, and welcome. At the site here at Accra Newtown, following a devastating building collapse here yesterday on March 29, 2026, which was Palm Sunday for a lot of Christians across the country. The incident has so far claimed 3 lives, 1 male, 2 females, and 20 others are injured across various hospitals across the country. If you look just behind me, you realize that rescue efforts are still going. At the moment, speaking to someone with an ADMO officials, they tell me no one is left under the rubble. But for those they've rescued so far, they are in the various hospitals. They are trying as much as possible to salvage the building as much as they can. So this building is within the premises of the experimental DH school right here in Accra Newtown. And it's a 4-story building that has been left uncompleted for about 14 years. And as at the time that the building collapsed, there were some people who were in there worshiping. And so unfortunately for them, the building collapsed on them. It was like a makeshift church that people are using. So the heavy rainfall which happened on Sunday is believed to be one of the causes of this building collapse that we see. And it's like some people also tell me that the building has been left for a while. They said it's unsafe for use and all, but it was still a makeshift church. And some people also were still in the process of using it. In an address to the media this morning from the Interior Minister, Muntaka Mohammed, he said they've cross-checked all the information they have thus far, and they can confirm that only three people have died, 1 male, 2 female, and 20 have been confirmed injured, who have been taken to various facilities across the country. There's Mamobi, the police hospital, and some other private facilities in the capital as well. They are still engaging. There are still investigations going on to find out what exactly happened. Some of the personnel that have been dispatched here, the Ghana National Fire Service, the NADMO authorities, of course, the military personnel who are here, ensuring that there's still some security concerns that will be raised. The fire service as well, who have been working round the clock to ensure that nobody is left under the rubble. There were some initial reports that were suggesting some people were crying for help underneath the rubble, but they assure me there's nobody underneath the rubble so far. So the injured have been taken to 37 Military Hospital, the police hospital, and the Mamobi General Hospital. And 2 patients have also been discharged, while 2 critical cases have since been transferred to the 37 Military Hospital for specialized care. And rescue operations have since concluded, but at the moment, and the focus has shifted to supporting victims and their families. So at this moment, I'd like to walk towards the regional, the IASU Central Regional Director for NADMO, who will give us a brief update as to what more he can tell us considering this situation. So at the point, we are still here at Accra Newtown following the devastating building collapse that happened yesterday, Palm Sunday, and we can see people still trying to salvage what they can as at this morning. And so far, the death count has risen to 3 people from the 2 counts yesterday, and 20 people have been injured, 2 have been discharged so far. And so we are here at the site bringing you this update. Yes. So some people asking questions about building safety within the country. And I just speak to Mr. Mohammed Awal. Mr. Awal, good morning once again. You're welcome to GTV. He's the IASU West Central Director for NADMO. If you can just share briefly with us any update you have for us so far following this devastating incident.
Okay, good morning. I think, currently, as you can see, we are trying to clear out the place and see, just as we are all assuming that maybe there might be any dead bodies in there. But from what the expertise told us, I'm not sure there's any dead bodies. So we just want to clear out the place and get the place in good shape. Okay. Yeah.
So we're hearing reports that 20 people have been injured and 3 people have died so far. Can you confirm this report?
Yeah, we've rescued 19 people. Okay. Yeah, 3 have passed away, and I think 2 are injured. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So what's happening now? You're just trying to salvage the building. You're just ensuring that there's nobody left under.
Yeah, we are only ensuring that there's nobody left under. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So following what happened yesterday, so initial reports suggest there was a heavy rainfall. That's why the building collapsed. But have your initial investigations revealed anything?
Oh, from what I'm picking, not knowing, they are aware that the building is not in good shape for it to be used as a classroom. That is why they couldn't continue with the building, the completion of the building. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Some were there, and then this incident happened.
Exactly.
So just before we leave, is there anything you'd like to tell viewers just before we go? Anything we haven't asked you yet that you think is important that we know?
What is more important now is anybody who want to build within, let me even make it a general statement, that even within the country, even by acquiring your certificate or license of building, you need to make sure anytime you go on site, you get the expertise to come and assist. It is not that you only get your certificate or license to go and build. That has warranted you that you can go in there and do whatever. Because normally, we have to make sure we ensure and make sure the right thing must be done. Because as you know, we have recalcitrant. He will bring out a plan. He will say, maybe I'm making a depth of 20 feet, 30 feet of the pillar or the regiment. But when there's nobody to assist or monitor or the expertise, you realize that later when you come, you realize that maybe it is 10 feet instead of 20 feet. So I think all these things need to be checked in very well. The expertise, anytime you engage us, this is what we are doing, this is the plan. If it's in the right direction, then we all move ahead. But I think that's the only advice I can give. After your license or a certificate of building or building permit, make sure you engage the expertise also to monitor and give advice. Otherwise, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Awal. Yes. So that's Mr. Mohammed Awal, who is the Ayahuasca Central Municipal Director for NADMO. He's been here with officials, telling us that they've rescued 19 people. 2 of them were injured, and then with regard to the casualties, 3 people have died so far. And so we have some people who are also trying to, who are also going through the rubble. I don't know, some people tell me they may be scrap dealers who are also going about their business. And some also like to think they're also helping the efforts of the authorities who are currently here at the scene. So we are here at Accra New Town, near the experimental DA school, where this building shared premises with them, and it has collapsed following a 4-story building which collapsed yesterday during the torrential rain that happened on Palm Sunday.
So that's a live update there from Newtown by Jay, one of our colleagues, concerning what happened, the collapse of that building, and a number of injuries, 3 people dead. But there are so many lessons in this. First of all, technicalities, checks and balances by experts, whether that is really done. Even the issue of rescuing people from the rubble or debris. You hear the word that comes along with these things, that experts do this in the midst of silence. But you see a lot of people, crowded there with noise. And so if somebody is screaming or calling for help, it's difficult to even hear. And these are concerns. But I'll throw it to you. Tanko, I was talking about, what's happening in Newtown.
Well, it goes back to what we are talking about the enforcement of rules and regulations, and because you see, everything you do has got rules and regulations governing it. Putting up a structure, civil engineering, quantities, and all those things. All these things are supposed to follow certain rules and regulations. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people just put up structures, without necessarily. If you ask people who own properties in Ghana, how many people have building permits? How many people have acquired permits to build? They will tell you, well, when you apply, you go through frustrations and all those things, and so they really don't bother and all those things. So I think that there are challenges that puts people off from following those due processes, but that is not sufficient for you to also avoid doing what you're supposed to do. And ultimately, when you fail or refuse to follow the process because the system is frustrating you, when the disaster strikes, you would bear the brunt anyway. But you alone don't bear the brunt. It would have, if you like, consequential effect on others. And I think that we need to start streamlining some of these things. And it still goes back to the willpower of the actors, and I keep saying that until our political actors move away from doing things to avoid political backlash or doing things to attract votes, we will not make any headway. Because the ordinary person, knowing very well where he or she can get a politician, would always emotionally blackmail you with some of these things. Then we know. When you're doing something that is not right, when you're doing something that is inappropriate, when you are engaging the services of somebody who is not up to scratch, right, who doesn't know the difference between mixing sand and then cement, how many cement you would need for a particular sand that you have, how many iron rods. He studied on the job, and he's seen his master doing it, And that's what he does.
So he can deliver a very shoddy job.
He would see that, the fanciful building, the building would be there.
But not strong.
But can it stand the test of time? And now we know sometimes that because of the pressure, people would build for a particular purpose, maybe inhabit maybe one or two, just for residential purposes. But because of the pressure now, before you realize, it is converted into something else. And then it puts pressure on that and all those things. And then eventually, when the thing would come crumbling, it is at that stage where you will now be crying. But, frankly, you have to share the blame in a way. But the political actors should start cracking the whip and enforcing.
Thank you. Oscar, your thoughts on that? And remember, you have some advice to give to businessmen. Yeah.
No, it's not just advice to businessmen, it's advice to everybody.
Yeah, but I'm saying that in the face of the difficulty, it still exists. So.
Yeah, look, as Ghanaians, we have to really look hard at ourselves as a people. And let's face it, we have so much indiscipline in this society that, you're talking about permits, you're talking about, people following the building code standards and so forth. Look, we know we have a problem in the construction industry. There are people out there who are draftsmen parading themselves as... They're completely two different things. And you have Ghanaians who want to go the cheap way. Majority of us want to do things cheaply. You're not going to go and take a professional because professionals cost money. So yes, I'll go for a draftsman. And maybe I built one house, so I think that I've supervised the building of one house. Therefore, it makes me a contractor. You know the number of people who are building their own houses, who are just getting a mason to come and build for them and just call anybody from anywhere. I mean, we have a problem in this country. Let's face it. It's not this building collapsing that is our problem.
It's just one of that has happened.
It is in this, and that's a fact. So we as a people, and if you look at the issues of collusion with the authorities, why are buildings, permits given to buildings?
And I'm wrapping up in the next minute.
Why are permits given to people to build in areas that they know they should not be building? So as a society, we have to have a radical change. We have to have a radical change. And the enforcement of that law, and that's why we need, sometimes I say we need a benevolent dictator. But we need somebody to rattle our bones as Ghanaians. Seriously, we have to change. For instance, I heard in the report that they knew that the building was not a safe structure. But if it was not a safe structure, why was it left standing? I've heard the engineer talking.
Okay.
Why they didn't have engineers at the assembly level to come and they're waiting for it to collapse again. And another one.
Too bad.
But my condolences to the families, innocent families who were praying.
Unfortunately, I have to go.
Insurance.
Unfortunately, I have to go. I'm so sorry. Yes, so that's it for headlines. Thanks to Richard Amekodo. We didn't hear you. We heard you, but I didn't hear it too loud and clear. Thanks to Oscar Provincial and thanks to Tanko Musa Zakaria.
Welcome to your favorite moment of luck and anticipation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rand Star Draw. Did you play the game today? If you missed out today, no worries, because we have all of our daily games